I wanted to thank you, Agnes, for being here. It's a kind of amazing collection of so much of your work that we're privy to over this week. Unusual to have a presentation of somebody's where you get to see all the parts. And I too, like Dominique was suggesting, thinking, why did she invite me to talk to you? And she invited me quite some time ago, so I spent time with your films. But my first experience with one of your works was when I downloaded something from Netflix maybe 10 years ago, and it was Agnes on the Beach, and it came without sound. And I watched the whole thing without sound, and was struck, and it stayed with me for many years, and that's why I was available now to engage your work and spend time with it. So I'm kind of curious about that. My work isn't narrative in the same way that yours is, and I wonder how attentive you are to that non-narrative piece of your work that's kind of purely visual and doesn't need the words.
You know what you said about seeing the film with no sound? This is part of the work. When I do editing with sound, and even with music, I try to think, and then, as at the second thought, I screen myself the film silent, because I think it's very important to know if it goes, if it tells something, if it crosses the indifference, and what can silent film do? The same. So it's something I'm interested in. But you must have been bored after 1 hour and a half.
I was not bored at all.
We are supposed to. Well, we have the reason to put words and music. I'm sorry I have a bad voice. I'm always a low voice, but I've got a flu, so now I'm very in the basement. But you see, Dominique Bluet and you lead the two departments I love the most in life, cinema and arts. So she did a lot to make me come here and introduce me. And since this is true, we know each other, I know your work. But it's interesting that in that same university, you are there and she's there. I found it nice because there are so many universities in the States, so many places, including a lot of places I don't even know. I met in the morning a teacher come from Arkansas, and I think, oh my God, I never went there. And these people, they know my films. I feel so touched, so blessed that people know or like my film. There are not many in the world, but those who accompany me, they do good. Mm-hmm. So I was proud that you wanted to speak with me. Your work is so strange, so daring, and we have in common, this is true, not only Natalie Obadia, we have to send her a photo, but that we love color.
Yes.
And I say that yesterday, that colors are, free vitamin, because really, it's, I think we need it every day, or sort of. So, but we don't use this the same way.
No, very different. You love purple.
You think so?
I
do. Yes, I love purple. I love pink, and I love red, and I love many other colors.
Yes.
But all the family of red, reddish, burgundy, pink, late pink, pale pink. I like it really. But okay, it's just my side. It's like being from the north or from the south. And I'm from the south, which means I'm extroverted and I love colors. And I know beautiful people in the north, but they're more introverted, you say that?
Mm-hmm. Introverted, yeah.
And they dress like very serious, beige and gray, and okay, it's fine, but it's like a question of temper. It is true that some of the dynamic of the colors get to me.
And I think, tell me if you think I'm wrong, but my sense is that you are really taken with the colors in the landscape. I also know, and I said, let me use a different word, but there's a kind of naturalism to your color. Almost all of your films take place between the city and the country. there's a lot of travel back and forth between a more urban place and a more rural place, trees and lots of travel. And the color comes from being in the world, outside, more than, I mean, I don't think of you and your camera like in a department store. It's more outside, the wind, trees, natural light blending with a peopled landscape.
Natural light is a beauty, you know. Remember, when I started photography, I have seen the ancient portrait of Nada and all these people. They had a special studio. I did the same. I had a little window on the roof and then side window. And I could have the people sit and have the perfect, classic, light, natural daylight. And as much as I can, I have not been raised in the country. Nobody in my family was farming, and so I miss the nature. I mean, I miss it because I've been raised in cities, and okay, I don't like that much. So I try in my films to, capture some of the beauties of nature and what it gives us in different ways. Because, like some of you saw last night, Vagabond, which is called 121, and that lonely girl, crosses the country. It's in the winter, and she's lonely. And then the nature becomes almost aggressive. And because the more she gets cold. She's killed by the cold and by her loneliness. But you see, so it was very important. We shot in the real winter. We were frozen. We didn't have enough money to have a, comment ça s'appelle, trailer? Mm-hmm. One of these big things in which you can put some heat and put some coffee. We were like really outside with her during the cold. But we thought we'd do it better if we understand what we're filming. So the experiments on summer, I had it in the film Le Bonheur. And again, I love so much picnic, I love so much the sweet herbs around Paris, the impressionist landscape. So these things count a lot in my life, whatever is related to the subject or psychology. But you see, your work is very different because you do one piece, which is shown in a museum or in a gallery, then we have to capture whatever you want to express in one piece or two or three. Don't think of cinema, it moves. And we keep it in a film. People can keep it. Now there are these DVD and the net, and they can catch the film.
It translates.
If you see an exhibition, I went an incredible, very cinematic area downtown. I don't know where it was, but I went there. You have a gallery there.
Where are you thinking?
Somewhere in Chicago.
Oh, you saw the color jam piece downtown?
It looks like a film, because it's a huge factory closed.
Oh, Kavi Gupta Gallery.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
So I was impressed by what you did there. Suddenly the entrance was incredibly colored, the wood, ceiling, the floor. You put some purple carpet also.
Yes, yes.
So you see, we have something in common. Love for violence. But you see, if I don't go there, I won't see these things. Mm-hmm. I cannot capture them.
True.
There are books. Now you have just a beautiful book of Fédon. Came out recently.
No,
right?
no, that was a long time ago.
Oh, because
It's like
I'd seen
20
other
years
books,
ago.
and that one I didn't see.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because at least through the photos, I can try to find out. And I have always the same question. What brings you to do that and not something else? And how come you end up making some strange thing coming out of the wall, colorful, and more or less not usable, like an aspirateur.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. A kind of fake one with colors, I think. What is it? You want to attack the real one? You want to replace it by a fantasy one? So your work is questioning me a lot about what is in your mind, what brings you to, with a lot of colors and unpredictable things being together. So at some point, what is in your mind?
Well, let me, the two questions there. The time thing, I think, is a really interesting place to look, because your work is obviously about time. Film is about time, it moves in time, but it takes place in our real time. We sit there and watch it, but then the fictive time of the film is something that you can then play again. So it's a peculiar relationship to time, I think, film and video. And my work isn't so obviously about time. The work itself doesn't move very quickly, but I do think that it's about time, and it's about the really slow time of the materials I use, in contrast to the quicker time of us. So I have on a couple of occasions used video, but without any motion. So there's a projection of some color, and the still color that's projected participates in the still composition of painting that I'm using. So I think I have a very different relationship to time. I think there's something about being human where you exist in time, and we're mortal, so we have a beginning, middle, and end like film does. But the materials, every material, building, piece of furniture, piece of paint, it too is subject to entropy, so it's changing. But I don't know if it ends in the same way that we do our lives. So I think about time, but in a much more slowed down way than you do. And also there's an accumulation of image in my work. So when you walk around the work from different points of view, there are still images that add up in memory. So there's a sort of filmic dimension to what I do. But in relationship to the other part of your question there, why, is it, I'm trying to remember how you said it, am I trying to propose a fiction that's going to take over the fact? Well, I think that I'm interested in the blur between fiction and fact. The blur, a kind of fuzzy line between the two, fact and fiction. That the world we construct for ourselves is both real and in many ways a fiction. I mean, this room we're sitting in is fictive. This didn't grow on a tree or something. This room was built and imagined by somebody. But we take it as real. We don't call this art. So, and where's the line? So my work, I enjoy asking a question about where that line is, and actually have the same question for you in your work. Because much of your film is generated by a sense of documentary, like The Gleaners, a kind of recording of real people, real events. And other of your films, like The Creatures, is more kind of fictive story, a narrative with actors. And I wonder what that difference is for you.
It's very, very different. First of all, it's like having two ways of being a filmmaker. When I do a feature fiction that I write, it's the case of Vagabond. Even though it looks very real, people they do testimonies, but it's all written, it's all prepared. And even I try to work with non-actors that I like a lot, and have them enter into the project. This is a feature. I mean, it is my film, I would say. When I do a documentary, like The Gleaner that you say, I am at the service of the subject. The subject is documentary. It relates with our society, consumption, waste, and people who eat what we throw away. Now, even it looks very easy and fluid, and I go from one thing to another, but still, I have to serve the subject. The people I want to speak about, I made a documentary in my street called Daguerreau's Tip, because I live in Rue Daguerre, so it was types of the Rue Daguerre, and also a play of word with the Daguerreau Tip, the first photos. But then I tried to understand what my neighbors, the shopkeepers, how they behave, wife and husband, what do they say to the people coming in back. So it was a real sociological inquiry, even though I enjoy myself speaking with them, trying to know from where they were coming, what they dream about. So it's like two different ways of working. I say we have to reinvent reality, but reality is very strong. And when we do a documentary, reality is bigger than whatever the shape I choose. So it's totally different of your work, because the material is reality. Mm-hmm. And try to have a specific look. I try to see reality in a very sensible way. Well, I know because there is next door that exhibition said that in the gallery, in the campus gallery, and somebody laughed that I said I love so much potatoes, and they started to say, well, what do you do with potatoes? Well, I was impressed by the heart-shaped potatoes. I was impressed by the way they age. I was impressed by the fact that it's the most modest vegetable. And so I built a world of imaginary, a triptych, like the triptych of the 16th century, paying homage to these heartbreaking potatoes who breathe. So it's, starting from reality. It became a word in itself, and it's called patat utopia, because the utopia is to believe that potatoes are the most beautiful vegetable in the world. I mean, as much as I exaggerate, I think it makes sense. So it's playing with reality. It's playing with what do you, I mean, maybe some of you will discover that these potatoes they speak to us, because they shrink, they're old, they're finished, they still have sprouts and they still have roots. As if life, the energy of life, never stops. That's part of the things that I could see in those potatoes. So, because you speak about reality, reality is our material, but we can go out. And when you do your own thing, you escape totally reality.
I don't think so.
Well, what I see. Okay, fine.
I